On Forbes, AI startups with no revenue are using this tactic to supersize their valuations. Earlier this year, David Silver, the renowned former scientist at Google DeepMind, dialed into a Zoom meeting with a venture capital firm to pitch his new startup, Ineffable Intelligence. Silver, who spent over a decade at Google, believed the current approach to training AI models wouldn't work long-term. He spoke for 30 minutes about creating digital environments where AI systems could learn on their own, without any human data or input. Eventually, he told the investors on the call, AI will get so good that it will learn to use things in the physical world. One investor recalls him saying, quote, "We can put AI in our toasters." To the investor, that seemed like a stretch. And the investor says, quote, "I was so excited for that pitch, and it was just so absurd. He just rambled, no deck, no memo." By the end of the pitch, the VC wasn't convinced, adding, quote, "We left that pitch with more questions than answers, and it's so jarring to hear that from somebody with such merit and stature in the industry." Despite no near-term plans to launch products, let alone make any money off them, Silver ultimately raised $1.1 billion in seed funding for Ineffable Intelligence. The fundraise, which was touted as Europe's largest seed round ever, valued the nascent startup at a whopping $5.1 billion valuation. At least, that's what the headline said. In reality, the company raised funding in two tranches. In the first, Ineffable raised $11 million from Sequoia and other investors, valuing the startup at about $55 million pre-money, according to company filings. But within a month or so, the company raised an additional $1.1 billion at a much higher valuation of $4 billion pre-money, the price paid by investors like Lightspeed, Index Ventures, and DST Global, as well as Sequoia, which also invested at the higher price tag. That's over 70 times the price for the same company, just weeks apart. The majority of the capital Sequoia invested was at the higher valuation, according to a person familiar with the deal. Sequoia and Ineffable Intelligence declined to comment. Tranched rounds like this have become increasingly common in the AI funding frenzy, especially for Neolabs, companies that raise billions of dollars right out of the gate to focus on frontier research instead of developing products. Building an AI lab requires tons of GPUs, meaning they need to raise massive amounts of capital right out of the gate to carry out serious research. Zach DeWitt, a partner at Wing VC, says that because these founders need to raise so much, lead investors wanted better terms in return. He says, quote, "At some point, there'll be some pushback from VCs, but the market's so hot right now that you have no other choice, really, if you want to get exposure to some of the best companies." But tranched rounds are now also prevalent across other types of AI startups, like infrastructure and application business. Base 10, which provides infrastructure and compute to businesses building and running AI tools, recently raised $1.5 billion in funding across two tranches, one at an $11 billion valuation and another at a $13 billion valuation. Other buzzy AI startups like Aru and Serval have also raised funding in this manner, multiple sources told Forbes. One VC says, quote, "It's very common among valuation-maximizing founders." Some investors say it's a win-win for both startups and VCs. Early-stage founders are shopping for sky-high valuations to hype up their startup, earning flashy headlines that could help land deals, close future funding rounds, and importantly, win over top talent who often are fielding competing offers. Equity makes up a meaningful part of an employee's package, and the startup's valuation often is a deciding factor. That's also true for founders who could be billionaires based on these elevated valuations, but often face a long wait for their equity to fully vest. Jaya Gupta, a partner at Foundation Capital, told Forbes, quote, "In a market where fundraising runs on vibes, a billion-dollar headline is worth a lot more than an accurate one." There's also big money involved. Menlo Ventures partner Didi Das in May tallied up that over 63 Neolabs were collectively valued at more than $300 billion and raised about $48 billion. It's not known if all the Neolabs have used tranched rounds, but the funds they have raised account for 16% of the roughly $283 billion that was invested in startups other than OpenAI or Anthropic over the last year.